Welcome to Love, Business, and Luggage, where relationships, careers, and adventures take off. I'm Monica, a nurse practitioner, author, and business owner with a serious case of wanderlust.
And I'm Clayton, a cybersecurity guy, just making sure our business and life stay secure.
Together, we share lessons from building a business, growing a marriage, and seeing the world.
Let's get started. So I'm sure you'd like to know a little bit about the two people that are speaking to you. So let's start with, Monica, who are you? And what do you do when you're not playing just podcast host on the side, apparently?
I do all the things, Clayton.
I know you do.
Yes. So I am a family nurse practitioner. I am the owner of Impact Family Wellness, a direct primary care office here in the Central Texas area. I have a few people that I'm responsible to lead in everyday life.
Sure.
So I just act as the CEO now. I actually do not see patients anymore. And just recently, I have also released my first book and online course because I have decided I'm going to change the world by educating other healthcare providers on how to start their own direct primary care office. And so, yeah, I've been traveling down that road recently. I'm also the wife of you,
Yes.
which has its own
That's a full-time
struggles.
job.
Full-time job for sure. I'm also the mother to our two boys.
Yes.
24-year-old Dylan, who's getting married next year. I can't take that together. But the good news is he's amazingly successful, has
Sure.
a big kid job, lives on his own. I feel like we totally succeeded with that one.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it many times that I think we're at least batting 500, although our little guy is going to be successful, and we can just tell he's one heck of a guy.
Yeah, let's hope so. So we also have a 10-year-old named Grayson who has a love for soccer and also travel like his mother.
Yes, and we'll get into that some more, obviously, from the name of the podcast. But one thing we didn't hear from you, though, is what is the name of your book and where can people find it if they're interested?
Yeah, so my book is called DPC, Dream Job or Total Disaster. And you can find it on Amazon. It's also on my website, thedpcformula.com.
That's awesome. I don't know how I'm going to top that, but yes,
Good luck.
I am Clayton. I am married to this beautiful woman whom you cannot see. But yeah, I've been in the IT world, been in sales and marketing and what we call go-to-market roles, really for my whole career, done some leadership as well. But right now I work for a really large tech company and do cybersecurity, really where I'm talking to the customers and to the executives around security, just making sure that they can stay secure. And of course, on the side, I help with Monica's business, really doing the IT work, although she affectionately calls me, what am I in your business? I'm not the CIO. I'm not the CTO. What is my title?
The help desk manager.
Oh, I think I got a promotion then, because I don't think I've been a manager in the past. So everyone, you heard it here first. I expect a raise. But yeah, I think as far as knowing me, I'm a family guy. I am probably a little bit more of the introvert of the two of us. Monica is definitely the out in front type. I'm what I would say is an extroverted introvert. So I'm an extrovert when I need to be, but where I get my energy is sometimes just hanging out on the couch and spending time with the family. In
case you blacked out for the last 2 minutes of that, he's a giant nerd.
Huge.
But can actually still talk to people.
Yeah.
That's really the best way to describe it.
As it turns out, that's where the most money in that industry is, for sure. Mm-hmm. So, Monica, a fun, totally random fact that people may not know about you.
Oh, there's so many. So many. I will go with the fact that I am a huge sports enthusiast.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
I absolutely love sporting events, especially live. I grew up in Ohio, so go Buckeyes. But I also graduated from Duke, which makes me a huge Blue Devils fan. So if you're from Carolina, just turn this podcast off because it's not for you. We don't welcome you here. I'm just kidding. Kind of.
I think 2 of the 50 states just tuned out, Michigan and parts of North Carolina. But
that's
keep
okay.
going.
I'm okay with that. But yes, I love a good sporting event. And in fact, we incorporate that into our travel rather often. So
yeah, and I can't wait to talk about that because that's actually one of the things we're passionate about is trying to go to sporting events while we indeed travel. So I guess fun random fact about me. Boy, those are really tough.
You're just not that fun.
No. See, that's so mean. This is what I deal with, folks. You know that. So I think for me, I have some very strong opinions about food, and some of them are very weird. Like, I cannot stand pickles. I mean, 100% cannot take them. In fact, my wife loves to eat a pickle and then threaten to kiss me, and that is just not nice. However, there's another part where a food that people don't necessarily love, I love, which is Spam. So I think that those are just kind of odd things about me.
You also refuse to put fruit in a salad, which angers me a little bit.
Well, that's because, we're not all evil people that would do that.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes you a sociopath if you do that, for
It's
sure.
good thing I didn't marry you for your food.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So, Clay, let's talk a little bit about how a family nurse practitioner and a cybersecurity guy ended up on the same mic. Would you like to tell the story? Because I'm not sure it's going to be very accurate.
I insist that I tell the story because I'll tell it the right way, and then you'll try to correct me, and everyone will know what the truth is. So the part that we definitely agree on is, so Monica and I met on Match.com. And some background here, we'd both been through divorces. Luckily they weren't, terrible divorces. I wouldn't say that they destroyed us by any means, but we were both at that stage in life where we were looking for someone, right? I think I was looking for someone maybe a little bit more than you were looking for someone mainly just to hang out with and have some fun. So I won her over, and we'll talk about how that happened sometime.
Yeah. Let's just tell the real story.
No. So I'll get. I know where you're going to try to interrupt and try to get in, and we just always know that's going to happen. So anyway, we met on Match.com, and I think that the really interesting part was, through the texting and the back and forth and everything, we probably did that for about a week?
It was 2 days.
Was it really only 2 days?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So for 2 days. And I mean, when I finally met this woman, I felt like I knew everything about her. And so I set up a date where we were going to just meet, coffee date, typical coffee date. We were going to meet at Starbucks. And this is where the story is going to get really interesting. She went to the wrong address and then called me upset. Now,
Okay, let's back up. First of all, I would like to give a shout out to Match.com because they totally got me. Because I don't know if you've ever been on Match.com, but when you do it, if somebody sends you a message and you have the free account, you can't respond. And so I had just signed up for a free account. I had just recently relocated to New Mexico, and I was living about 2 hours outside of Albuquerque, where Clay was living at the time. And so I was in the middle of nowhere in a lovely town called Gallup, New Mexico. And if you've never been, don't put it on your list of places to visit. But they totally got me because they kept saying, well, so-and-so winked at you, but you can't respond unless you pay us money. So I finally bit the bullet. I paid.
I think the really funny part is that I winked at you. Monica, am I a good winker? Like in real life, am I a good winker?
You cannot wink if you try.
So the irony of that.
So I finally broke down and paid $54 for a 3-month subscription.
Which she still has me on the hook for.
And 48 hours later, I met Clayton on Match.com. So the good news is Clayton is, like we said, a bit of an introvert. And so he would have never found a woman outside of a search engine. I'm just saying.
No, I don't think so.
And so that's why Match.com worked for him. And it works for me because there are certain things I need to know about you before I agree to go on a date with you. Like, are you a chain smoker? Because if so, that's like a deal breaker for me. So anyway, we started texting on a Friday night. And then by Monday, we were going to meet for coffee. Long story short, I was new to the area. And so I just went to the address that Clayton sent me to. And he sent me to a Walgreens. And I was really angry. I called. He didn't answer. We ended up meeting in the middle at a different coffee shop.
That's true.
Because he sent me to the wrong place. Needless to say, that date went well, and we continued dating, got married a few years later. But what's interesting is that the day we're actually recording this marks 14 years from the day he sent me to Walgreens. And so, interestingly, we passed by that Walgreens a lot when we still lived in Albuquerque.
We did.
And every time I would ask him if he wanted to go into Walgreens since he seemed to like that place. But yes, we've now been married for 14 years. We have 2
Well,
kiddos.
we've known each other for 14 years, yeah.
That's true. We have known each other for 14 years. We've been married for 11 years.
Yes.
We have 2 amazing kiddos, and we've been through a lot.
Yeah.
And that's really what we're here to talk about. So let's dive into that, Clay. So why are we doing this podcast? Why now? And what's the purpose of this?
That is the epic question here. Well, I mean, the why is because I think we've both wanted to do this, and we really kind of feel like, our experiences and the things that we do, we've really wanted to share with other people. And so it was actually a really interesting moment. Monica came in and said, hey, I just did an interview for a podcast. I really think we should do our own. And I said, I've been wanting to do a podcast as well. And we looked at each other and said, let's do one together. So, the thing that I think is really interesting about our life that I think a lot of people can relate to is really that balance of what do you do, in your off time? In our case, we love to travel, and we'll bring that here. But also, we balance two careers. I mean, two very strenuous careers. How do we do that? And I'm not going to say that we do any of this perfectly. So please don't think this is like a how-to manual. And we have managed to stay best friends now for being married for 11 years.
I do still like you.
Yeah.
Most days.
Yeah. I mean, like,
Some days.
We even the times that we spend apart, like, I'm not saying that they're bad by any means. We enjoy our own our own time apart from one another. But really, when it comes down to it, I mean, there's something there about why we just love to spend time together. So we thought that we could bring that to other people. And frankly, I'd love to start hearing other people's stories about it too. What do you think?
No, I think that this podcast is really for the dreamers, the doers, the couples that are brave or crazy enough to build something together. If you've ever juggled love and business and, of course, a boarding pass or two, then I think you're in the right place. And so that's really what we're hoping to bring is we both do a lot of public speaking, and so we're used to having microphones in our face. And so we just wanted to share our stories that other people may relate to, and maybe it will make a difference in your life and maybe inspire you, maybe challenge you, and maybe even give you the emphasis or the push you need to go chase your next big dream.
Sure.
Because we sure have, and it's gotten us to a pretty great place in life.
Well, and I will say that there's a story there of kind of how travel and love intersected very early in our relationship. And that is very early in our relationship, what, about 2 months into it or so?
6 weeks.
By the way, for those of you that are just learning about Monica, she has an incredible memory that I can't compete with. So you will hear this quite often where she remembers exact time frames. But I was going on a business trip, and I was going on a business trip to Las Vegas, and kind of on a whim, I asked you to join me. And what did you tell me? You didn't tell me before the trip. You told me after the trip. What did you tell me?
I said, this trip will either make or break this relationship. Mm-hmm. Because if you can't get through TSA without them stopping you because you put a full-size toothpaste or something stupid in your luggage, this is not going to work. The other part was, can I share a hotel room with you?
Sure.
Because if you leave your wet towel on my side of the bed, I'm going to be pissed.
Sure.
And it's not going to go well. So thankfully, he passed that test of being in a hotel room with me. And now we do it all the time.
Yeah, quite a bit. So, Monica, tell me, what is maybe a lesson, whether it's from work or from travel, that you wish you'd learned a little sooner in life? Because, both of us, we did travel some when we were kids, but not nearly to the level that we do now, right? So just curious, what did you wish you knew?
I mean, I wasn't on an airplane until I was 20.
Yeah.
So I definitely lived that not so much of a travel life. I did grow up in Ohio, so we were able to at least drive a few places. But one big thing that I've learned, especially about travel now, is that getting angry and pissed off doesn't ever fix the problem. And so I think that that's one thing Clay and I have figured out pretty well. I tend to be the planner, hey, let's go here, let's do this.
100%.
Where Clay is I will carry all your things. He's a little bit of a travel princess, if I'm not going to lie. He's like, what do I need to pack? Where are we going? And I have the whole itinerary laid out, which I actually enjoy, except for when I leave the passports.
It's another story. So she's 100% right. The thing that I will say is I do a fair amount of business travel, so I'm capable of these things. But the reality is that Monica loves to plan these. You have never seen a bigger smile on her face than as she is booking a trip on her tablet or laptop. So,
yeah. Especially if I can find a good deal with some credit card points.
Absolutely.
It is my love language right there. But one thing that Clay and I do well is we communicate well, and we can typically tell when one or the other is getting frustrated. Yeah. And so especially if I'm trying to find something and we're walking around and I can't find it, Clay will be like, okay, stop. What are you looking for? And I will say, a big giant sign with a red M. And he'll turn around and point at the sign and say, you mean that one right there? And I'll say, yes, that one right there. And then we can move on. So we're pretty good about figuring out when the other one is getting flustered and how to bring them off. So
well, you've also been amazing for me in helping me to push my boundaries. So for instance, when we were in Costa Rica, I have never ziplined. I never thought I would ever zipline. I am 6'5", and I am convinced the Lord made me as tall as I needed to be. I did not need to be on a zipline, but between Grayson and you guys convinced me to go out, and it's one of those things that now I'm very proud that I was able to do. So, what do you think that you've learned from some of those experiences, though, Monica?
I mean, that you're more than just a pretty face. Let's be honest. No, I think that it's all about teamwork, because I can plan till I'm blue in the face, but sometimes things just don't go as planned. And I am a people pleaser, a type A person, an overachiever to a fault. And so when something goes wrong, I immediately take it personally, and you typically can talk me off a ledge and be like, it's all right.
Sure.
But tell me something you've learned from all this work and travel in your life.
Yeah, it's actually a piece of advice that I've even given my son recently, or our son recently. And it's because, he's 24, he's starting to travel, he's about to get married. And the one thing that I have to remind him is, you will have opportunities to do these things again. So even with work, and I go back to a story. It was one of my very first business trips. I was going to Seattle, Washington, and as I was getting on the plane coming back from Seattle, I looked around and thought, wow, I'm so happy I was here. I'll never be here again. And I mean, I've lost count of the number of times that I've been in Seattle. Mm-hmm. So I think that that's the thing is, you definitely want to be in the moment and not think about the things that you're losing, not think about, maybe you never will be able to be back there again. Like, live in the moment and enjoy it, and recognize that, God willing, life is long and you can experience more things. And also, there's such a joy in sometimes being able to go back to the same place and, experience it through someone else's eyes. And that is one of the things that I think, as our kids have gotten older, it is really fun to go sometimes to a place you've been and be able to experience it in a different way now through their eyes, right? So I think that's one of the things that I've certainly learned. And really, I think that even goes to work as well. Like you're gonna get times to do it over sometimes. So try not to be so stressed out in the moment.
I mean, you can always use some girl math though, and be like, well, if I'm in Italy, then I need to go to Switzerland and maybe Austria.
Yeah,
they're so
people
close.
are gonna hear your girl math. I have absolutely no idea about that.
Absolutely.
So how do you think our relationship and work dynamic kind of work towards this? Like, what are people going to see in this podcast? And what are some areas that we got to be careful with? I really don't think there's any, to be honest. But
yeah, I will say the biggest thing is communication.
Sure.
We have learned, and I think we'll talk a lot about communication throughout this podcast, of how we are able to keep our communication open without judgment, without getting angry, without getting frustrated, so that we can keep one another in check. Because I think it's easy to get angry and frustrated and lash out, but we've been really good about keeping that in check. And so I think that's probably our best attribute, is our ability to communicate with one another. And I think that also goes to our businesses.
Sure.
Right? As I deal with my employees, and you deal with CISOs and higher up people in the world, you have to know how to communicate with them. And I really think that's one thing we'll touch a lot on throughout this podcast.
Yeah, and we won't get into the story right now, but I mean, we've had some miscommunications. I think all relationships do.
Oh, there'll be a whole episode about
I have no doubt. But I mean,
the times he messed up.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far, but I mean, I'll say, like, in those moments, like, yeah, you're angry, you're frustrated, maybe you feel a little bit betrayed, and for whatever reason that is. But I think the important thing is that you can, as long as you always have that mutual respect, and I'm sure we'll talk about that. I am interested, though, through our travels or our working together, was there ever a moment where you were like, this was a mistake, I should not have done this with Clay?
Never that I should have done something with you.
Shouldn't have done.
Right. That's
Okay.
what I'm saying. So I don't know that I've ever been in a situation where I'm like, God, if only Clay was not here, that would make my life better. I think there've been a few times we've traveled and been like, this might have not have been the best of ideas. Ending up in the middle of a foreign town, not really knowing where you are. But, for the most part, I can't say that it's ever been a mistake to be with you, because typically you can help me out of those situations. This is a bonus of a man being 6'5", is people do notice him when he walks into a room.
They tend to part the seas a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, was there a time you wished that you were not with me? Oh, man. I know where you sleep.
I'm getting the eyes right now, but I want to be really honest about this. So I'm trying to think. I don't think so. No. I do know. No, there is an answer to this. And you're going to agree with it. Deep sea fishing.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. Never again.
I think you agree with this. You shouldn't have been there. You shouldn't have been there with me. You shouldn't have been there at all. Deep sea fishing is not something Monica does well.
No, I get really seasick, and I was not feeling well, and things were not going well for a solid 3 hours. I have never been so close to jumping off a boat in my life.
Oh, trust me. I saw the look in your eyes. It was that look of like, can I swim a half a mile?
And I could have at that point if that boat had not restarted. But I will tell you, I don't think that was a mistake. I was there with you. It was your fault that we were there because it was for your birthday.
Sure.
But I think without you, I would have been in an even rougher situation because you were there to help me through that. And you were also the one who finally looked up at the captain and was like, she can't do this anymore. We have to go.
Yeah, but I mean, looking from my perspective, I do wish I'd left you on shore.
Oh, 100%. I'm sure at one point you're like, can we just throw her overboard?
No, it was never like that.
Because it was a very rough 3 hours. So do not invite me to go deep sea fishing. I will not go with you.
Yeah, and I'm not sure I'll do it either at this point. You know, that's one thing that we both kind of noticed as we've gotten a little older is that motion sickness is a real thing. Well, hey, Monica, let's do a segment that we are going to bring back for every show, and that is what's in our carry-on. So let's start with, what's one thing you never travel without?
Noise-canceling headphones.
A great idea.
Hands down.
Game changer.
We typically are on an airplane, and I need my son to be drowned out. I need my husband to be drowned out, and I definitely need all the people around me to be drowned out. So yes, I would say one thing I never travel without is my noise-canceling headphones. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, it's my iPad. I mean, I basically live on this
Spoken
iPad.
like a true tech nerd.
No, absolutely. You know, I mean, it's my entertainment. It's my work. It's you know, where I read books. Like, it is literally my everything. I think this is becoming a commercial for Apple right now. So we'll have to look for a sponsor with Apple at some point, maybe.
Right.
I'm sure that they need us for that.
Yeah, and so this segment, What's in Your Carry-On, we're going to continue this through each episode.
Sure.
Not necessarily what's in our carry-on for travel, but maybe in life and in parenting and in business and all the things. So it'll be our place to give you our nugget of knowledge for the episode. So make sure you tune back in for that. So Clay, we talked about who this podcast is for, kind of what we're looking for. But for those of you who are just listening for the first time and we want to tell them what to look forward to, what would you say is coming up throughout this first season?
Yeah, I mean, two people that absolutely have a passion for not only the things they do in work, but the things that they do in life, for their family, and experiencing some of our travels together as well. I mean, Monica has now upped our trip count to we need to do 4 a year at this point, and she doesn't count 3-hour drives to places. So, you'll be hearing a lot of that. But I think it's just, look, I would like people to be able to listen to us and go, wow, those sound like normal people going through some normal things, and I can relate to them and, hopefully get a couple of nuggets of wisdom. And as time goes on, I'd love to hear from the listeners as well, because I think there's a lot, we're going to give, but I think we're going to get so much back. So, I mean, that's really what I think. That's why I think people should tune in.
Yeah, I agree. I think both of us have had great careers, both in healthcare and in tech. And now we've built a business from nothing to a multi-location, multi-million-dollar business. And we just continue doing these things all the time. We've learned how to travel and do it on a budget. We've learned how to take our kid with us. We've done a lot of things through marriage and parenting that I think we have some words of wisdom to share. So just be prepared for some ridiculous stories that are all very true. But yeah, I think if you have even if you're not a business owner, I think some of the things that we've learned are just about success and worth and being parents and trying to make it in life and balance all the things out. So
I agree. Well, Monica, I do want to congratulate you because you have gotten through a whole first podcast and you have not brought up any sort of inappropriate body part. I mean, this is one thing that you need to know when you work around doctors and nurses. They talk about everything and anything. So you've made it through a whole podcast. I want to make sure that I give you credit.
This will probably be the only. So just be prepared. I will likely throw out a body part name in the future that most people don't just throw out as common knowledge. Clay has learned this the hard way, in that he likes to tell me before we go to dinners with high ups in the company that I can't say those words. But guess what? Every time I do, and they love it. And I'm sure that our audience will as well.
All right.
So
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah. This episode is brought to you by Thrive Market, the online grocery store that actually makes healthy living easy and affordable. From pantry staples to clean wine, yes please, Thrive has it all, delivered straight to your door. And guess what? As a special treat for our listeners, you can get 40% off your first order when you use the link in the show notes. Go check it out. Your pantry and your wallet will thank you. Coming up next, we're going to dive into what it's really like to build a business together as a couple. Spoiler alert, it's not all sunshine and spreadsheets. From dividing roles to surviving disagreements and maybe a few dramatic eye rolls, or two, we'll share how we make it work and what we'd absolutely do differently. If you've ever thought about starting something with your partner, don't miss it.
And that does it for us on our first episode of Love, Business, and Luggage. Please like us, subscribe to us, wherever it is that you like to get your podcasts, and we'll be back.
Don't forget to share with your friends.
That's right. Share it with as many friends as you can. All right, everyone. See you later.